Hello, we are Hawthorn Games, and you're watching our Week 7 of Development Progress Update video. And who are we? We are a group of passionate students with a strong desire to make something awesome that help players learn something new. We came together through our collective love of games and the need to challenge ourselves to make something we would be truly proud of. Our team consists of Aditya Abraham, our sound and technical designer, Caitlin Wilson, our 2D concept artist, also dabbling in UI, Keira Rose as our 3D artist, Natan Walentin, our technical designer and programmer, Andrea Minucci and Kieran Wu as our primary programmers, and Nicola Dau as our game and level designer, who also helps out with the producing. And then there's me, Michael Hutchison, the game designer and spokesperson, who also handles a bit of the producing. So what is Project Scrapped and what are we trying to achieve? Well, we're aiming to create a pleasurable and educational interactive experience that aims to introduce people to game development through play. A successful project would engage and develop the player's logical and lateral thinking, artistic sensibilities, and creative reasoning skills without directly presenting itself as an educational game. We want the player to feel as if they're getting good at programming and learning about game development as a whole. We want them to go through the common thought patterns that a programmer usually goes through, but in a playful, directed, and confined way. We thought that one of the best ways to go about this was to make a game where you play as a self-aware character in an unfinished game and try to fix the mess the developers have left behind. But we needed to ground this around one core mechanic to focus on, especially for the vertical slice. And in that regard, we decided to go with logic editing, where the player is able to edit the behavior of objects in the world with a simple visual scripting language inspired by Scratch and Rabbit's coding to try and reprogram the world's AI and piece it back together. The player will essentially access elements in the world such as objects, enemies, or items, and reprogram them using predefined blocks of code that they can scavenge from the environment in order to solve gameplay scenarios. The puzzle's focus is on expressive multi-solution logic design. We want to pair this with an adventure-like twist where the player will explore the world to find new areas, new items, scavenge blocks of code, and progress in their adventure through unlocking new editing permissions for various styles of gameplay. The full game would cover various aspects of game development. We thought of levels that would make the player repair broken aspects of the game like physics and collisions, edit classes with an object-oriented programming approach, and even levels that would ask them to create game mechanics from scratch. But for now we need to focus on one aspect and get it right. So we decided to focus on artificial intelligence, which has better references and is potentially more intuitive, meaning that we have a higher chance of getting it right in the time that's available to us. And that's why we are focusing on allowing the player to explore an isometric world and edit the logic of ancient golems to get them up and running again, and using them to open doors, fixing bridges, clearing paths, and eventually repairing an old dysfunctional lumber mill to get it back up and running again with the help of their lumberjack golems, which is currently in development and is just past its initial prototyping phase. We are currently looking at implementing various ways to incentivize efficient coding practices through coding loopable behavior that must be continuously maintained. And that's where the lumber mill comes into play, is the player will not only have to get it functional, but keep it that way through maintaining its production lines. Right now, our artists are hard at work producing assets to start putting into the build, while our programmers work on the core functionality and extensibility of the logic editing system, refining it to our needs. The game designers are prototyping puzzles and implementing them in engine, while the technical designers are working on some cool virtual effects and shaders for our gameplay elements to really sell the look and feel of the game. And our sound designer is working hard producing some music and sound effects, iterating on them as we test them in the build. As you can see with the puzzle showcased in the background, we're currently focusing on working directly on the feedback received from our academic mentors and industry clients through working on the user experience and the tutorialization of certain nodes, logic, and programming patterns and the way that the player can really go about certain situations and try to find their way about the world, as well as the logic editing mechanic themselves, trying to encourage exploration and iteration of their code. Our audio designer has also been quite hard at work on various styles of music tracks and sound effects that I'll have play us out as some gameplay rolls in the background.